Okay, all right, okay. Is everybody ready?
Let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters,
This is a journey into sound.
The fattest, funkiest tunes in town.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
All right. All right. Sometimes I feel like maybe the intro song is too long, and then I think to myself,
It's
you
all
deserve it.
right.
You deserve this, Elaine. It's okay. And I let it play. But good morning, you guys. My name's Elaine. Some call me Stock Mom, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Stockhouse U Pre-Market Show. I designed this show to help, and to help, we will. So, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about those futures. We're going to talk about the indices, ETFs, individual stocks. We're definitely going to talk about the news. We're going to talk about some trades, both good and bad, and the psychology behind those trades. We do not give out financial advice. This is for educational purposes only. We will never tell you how to trade or what to do with your own money. However, we will tell you the thought process behind our own trades, and I hope that that adds value. If you want to talk, please raise your hand. Please raise your hand. Everybody's welcome on this stage. If you want to ping some people into the room, this is a community effort, and I'd appreciate it. And last but not least, if you haven't already, click on that club on the top left to be alerted when we and probably like 9 other people decide to do stock market clubs first thing in the morning because, you know, it's a popular idea. I'm joined by some of my favorite people, and I'm so grateful to have you guys. Oh, man, I'm sorry. I didn't do any moderating. Vanessa, Liv, Christopher, the gang. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing
Fantastic.
wonderful today.
See, this is what I like to hear. James, Stocky, Alec, Patrick, hey, what's up?
Hey, Lane, how you
What's up,
doing? Good
everyone?
to see you this morning.
All right, all right. Well, normally we like to start our days off with a quote, and I'll start today. Today's quote for me is by David Cho. It goes like this. When is a painting over? When is a piece of art finished? Theoretically, it can go forever. The paint dries, you just paint over it. It goes forever. Hey, Dave, do you have any regrets in this life? Yeah, most of them involve painting. Oh God, if I had just stopped. It's like a casino. How do you win? You get out while you're ahead. It's a rambling quote from a rambling artist. But the idea of wondering when it's over, I've always said, to me, trading is an art form. The stock market, mastering it is an art form. It is not something you can just purely calculate. So how do you know when you're done? When is it over? When do you take profit? This is the question that so many people ask. And the answer is it's, completely subjective. However, the idea of getting out while you're ahead, the idea of treating it as an art project, and it's like, look, you have to give yourself some point where it's complete. You can trade forever. You can stack these chips up to the ceiling and then bust through the ceiling and keep going. Some people have devoted their entire lives to it. But for me, it's so important just to have a stop point, to have an end, and to finish the project. Vanessa, good morning. Do you have a quote for us today?
Yes, I do have a quote. Good morning, everyone. The quote goes, "So I'm treating every second like it's an investment. Time is money. Every second I'm collecting." And that's by Big Sean. Um, don't waste time on things that don't matter, and focus your energy on things that do matter. There's one thing that we can't get back in life, and that's time. So don't waste it.
I was listening to the recordings back, and it's like the claps are kind of aggressive first thing in the morning. Maybe I should get something that does jazz hands, especially for Liv. Hey, Liv, do you have a quote for us today? And good morning.
Hey, good morning. I do. My quote this morning is going to be work hard in silence. Let your success be your noise. It's straight to the point and simple. Wake up dedicated and motivated and keep it to yourself and just let other people see your profits over time with the way you move and the way you act. Others will know.
You just have such a calming voice, Liv. Makes me want to do the snaps. Ah, see? Yeah, he gets it. Christopher, good morning. Do you have a quote for us today?
I do. And actually, I've been feeling Warren Buffett a lot lately. So let's go here. Much success can be attributed to inactivity. Most investors cannot resist the temptation to constantly buy and sell. And I really was thinking about Liv and Shivam about this and how Shivam's like on vacation and he absolutely refuses to do anything as far as buying. And I think that everybody, deserves to take a little mental break to just make sure that they're reset and focused to make sure that they're making the right trades.
Absolutely. Although, I don't know. I always wonder. So many people, and I've quoted Buffett. I've come up here and talked about Buffett and Munger and all of that, and it's like they would hate how we trade. It would give them extreme anxiety, I believe. Um, for everybody else, now I love it when everybody has quotes, and I always actually think it's pretty crazy that we just have this culture that we come in here every day and kind of are prepared, and people come up on stage. Um, so I'm open to it. If you have a quote that you want to share with us, please do. If not, you can just say, hey, good morning, and we'll keep it moving. Because Lord knows we do not spend enough time on the sector ETFs for my liking. So James, good morning.
Hey, good morning. I have a quote.
Go for it.
Okay, so this quote comes a book that's called Bulls, Bears, and Brains, Investing with the Best and Brightest of the Financial Internets. It's by Adam, and the second author is Joshua. And the quote states, most people only know how to make money when the rising tides is rising all boats. In that case, you don't have to know anything. You buy every dip and then you pray. That's what I call the Austria approach. You buy a stock today, you take a nap, and you hope everything is okay. When you wake up, it takes no skill. But when the market environment stops, when the drummer stops beating, when the sun dies down, what are you going to do? And that's the end of the quote. And this book was written in 2002.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that type of sentiment. Stocky, good morning. Do you have a quote for us?
No quote today, just good morning. I hope y'all have a wonderful day.
It's awesome, man. It's all good. Thank you for coming. And good morning. Patrick, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah. So two things. One, I do have a quote, but I also would like to lane The Rock from the Rock Trading Group. He's in our audience. I'd love to bring him up to speak. He's a really good trader. Alec and I are in his group, the Rock Trading Group. I just love. He's a great insight into the market. But the quote I have is from Ray Dalio, and it's very simple. It's from his book Principles. I just finished rereading it, and it's pain plus reflection equals progress. And I just think that's really important because with the way the market goes and just life in general, sometimes we all face some painful moments, and you got to get through them, reflect on them, come to a good group like the Stockhouse U, where it's nothing but positivity and support, and we can all work together to have that progress we all want to have.
I love that. And The Rock, if you want to come up on stage and hang out with us, you're more than welcome to, man. Marcus, good morning.
Yeah, John, come hang out.
Good morning. Good morning. I do have a quote, Peter Lynch. You get recessions, you have stock market declines. If you don't understand that's going to happen, then you're not ready. You won't do well in the markets. Peter Lynch. I'm done speaking.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, hey, it's nothing crazy. It's expected at this point, right? Daniel, good morning.
Good morning. I don't have a quote. I'd rather hear you speak.
We love that, Elaine.
No, I love that too. Good morning, C Polo. Welcome to the stage, man. How you feeling?
How you guys doing? I got a quote for you guys today. Woke up this morning. So my quote is, when you love what you have everything you need. You're not going to need anything more than that. And sometimes I really apply that to trading every day. I actually started trading last year. And, it's taught me to, kind of be humble. If you're getting your wins and, you're not losing anything and you're making profit, just don't get too greedy. So, when you love what you have everything you need. You're not going to need anything more than that. That's my quote for the day.
Yeah, I wish we had more time to really kind of go deep on that. Like the idea of greed and just being motivated by money. I think so many of us get into this and it's like, I want more. That number is more. And that really does conflict with the idea of being happy with where you're at and finding some sort of internal joy in this process. And we're like all motivated by money for some reason to be in the market like this. So I appreciated that, Polo. That made me think. With that said, let's get into some futures, you guys. Pulling up charts, shuffling papers. All right, seriously, they're down. But how far down and what happened before it? That's the important part here. So I love doji days. I came in here yesterday and talked about that, and I felt really good about how we ended. That indecision, showing a little bit of hesitation in the price action, allows me to see if people are actually comfortable buying and selling at these price levels. And as it turns out, at least for that day, we were. Now, here are the things that I'm looking for in today's action, and I'm going to take this over to the NASDAQ first of all. So yesterday in the NASDAQ, we closed at 13,570, and right now we opened at, or we're holding at 13,546. So a 0.1%, 0.18% decrease from yesterday till today right now in the pre. Previous to that, we had 3 beautiful days where we came up from the 12,700 level all the way up to the 13,500 level. This is a significant increase. Now, I know I talk about percentages a lot, but I don't know if everybody stares at percentages for the indices. But like a 2% increase per day is an insane amount of movement, or a 1.5% increase. Like this is the higher end of the spectrum that we're really seeing. And so when I wake up in the first thing in the morning and I see it, we're down 0.19%, this does not necessarily mean something. On Monday, we woke up and we were up a percentage already in pre-market. Now, once again, I still expect more indecision, to be honest. I am happy looking at us close to all-time highs and hovering around here. I would actually not even be mad if we came back down and retested this 13,400 region again. I would love to see some support build up. The last time we came up here, we hovered around. We broke through the 13,400 at the beginning of February on the 3rd. Hovered there for about a day or two, came up to a high of 13,900. When we were rejected, completely back down. Not only did we come back and retest the 13,400 level, we dropped below that and tested 12,600. And then that led to that early March moment where we dropped all the way down to 12,100. And to coincide with that, we broke through our 20-day, our 50-day, and came down and retested the 100-day moving average. This was a huge pullback. So now here we are once again, sitting at a fairly similar spot to the last time we took a major rejection. Are we in the same economic situation? Not exactly. There are some differences fundamentally, but every single company that we're looking at right now, I still think there are many companies inside of this index and all of the other major ones that are not. They continue to have the same problems that they had previous, right? So the same money that you're spending is getting you less of a company at the end of the day. Now, with that said, we have great economic news. The rollout for vaccines is looking good. The CDC guidelines and people are expecting to get great earnings results as we move into our next earnings season. And all of those things lead us to be in a great setup. As long as we can hold a decent position, I will be happy to take part in this market. So I'll get to the levels and get away from the speculation. And the levels are fairly similar to what we saw yesterday. Me personally, I'm still really happy to build up a little bit of steam in this area, so I wouldn't be afraid of a red day. Right now, if we could come down to that 13,400, retest and hold on that level, I would really love to see that. And I think it would set us up for a nice like 3-bar kind of play or a 4-bar play at this point. And on the upside, I do expect us at some point to come back up here and test the 13,800 level. That's what I'm going to be looking for. Now, if we can hold above that, maybe we will be continuing to be bullish. However, the storyline as we look to the left in the recent few months has been volatility. So that's also something to maybe expect, right? Hey, that we are going to see some swings. With that said, I kind of did some more like thinking and reviewing of what Patrick said yesterday about having that 4,200 price target on the S&P 500, and I get it. I don't know if anybody listened to Jamie Dimon's comments yesterday, but he said that we are definitely in a market that this recovery boom could last well into 2023. That is the way some people feel, especially with the level of savings accounts, especially with a government and a Fed that is willing to intervene if they feel the need to, especially with a Fed that is prioritizing dealing with the part of the economy that still hasn't recovered properly. If we can have those issues addressed and met, there is no reason why we couldn't. So I don't know. I don't try to predict like that, but I loved hearing that from Jamie Dimon, one of the most successful CEOs in the finance world. Coming over to the S&P 500, similar story. So we closed at 4,064. We're sitting at 4,058, a 0.14% decrease in the pre-market so far, and this is just looking like another doji situation. Now, a little bit different because we hit an all-time high yesterday. We hit an all-time high the day before, right? And so here we sit a little bit more precipitously on the edge of greatness, on the cusp, if you will. And even for this, once again, I would love us to kind of come back down and just retest areas that we have and build constructively, right? Like not all growth is good growth, or not all growth signifies growth that will stay. And so I would love to see some constructive movements here. With that said, so my activation levels, and I mean, we're right here. So the real thing is this going to continue to push all-time highs, or are we going to come back to the range trading? And I can base some of my prediction upon that in the relation, how the S&P moves in relation to the other indices, right? We're still seeing a strong correlation. It's not like one is just going to go straight to the moon and the other one's going to hover around. So as we have the NASDAQ doing a really great recovery, however, hovering and showing some indecision, that's sort of what I'm expecting to see over here in the S&P as well. Who knows? Once again, we could drop all the way down to 4,000. I would still be extremely bullish. And enjoy the setup in the way that this looks. And on the upside, I mean, so it's the 4,100 level right now that I'm really looking forward to see if we're going to test and hold above. However, inside of this range, I could be extremely happy just with a nice little another doji day or even a down day, once again, just to show some confidence. And then moving over to the Russell, which has been like one of its, you know what, the Russell's recovery has been beautiful, but the range that we're trading in has also been particularly nice to see. And we're following course just as kind of you would expect. So after touching the 2,300 level, what it was 2 days ago at this point, and taking a little bit of rejection, we've taken a slight pullback. And right now, sorry, you guys, yesterday we closed at 2,256. Right now we sit at 2,247. It is a 0.38% decrease from yesterday's close. This would be the largest decrease from yesterday's close in any of the indices. And that's okay. For me personally, the Russell has been trading in this range, and it's a beautiful range to trade. As soon as we come down to this 2200, even the 2100 level, which we've retested at this point 2 times since the beginning of March, we're seeing that this thing continues to want to trade in this range, and so that makes it a fairly easy tradable asset. Um, yeah, and once again, this thing has been pulling back a little bit stronger than some of the other ones, specifically the Nasdaq, in recent days. And I'm wondering why, and wondering if we're going to continue to see that sort of volatility in the small caps as we kind of rotate back into more growth. Like that's what I'm seeing as we're rotating back into some of the larger cap stocks. I mean, people are excited to hop into these recovery plays. Anybody else looking at the futures and want to get into that with me? Or are we going to let Chris talk about oil?
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think today may be a slight down day, or maybe a indecision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm looking at futures and it's looking red. And I mean, it's to be expected, like Elaine said. You went through the levels. I'm not going to do that because your levels are superior. But I just wanted to point out that this is like a typical play that we'll see, you know. Um, it's time to burn premiums, and that's probably what's going to happen the rest of the week. So, yeah.
All right. Well, with that said, Chris, go ahead and take it away, man. Let's hear about some crude oil.
Sure. So I start like looking at the overall sentiment first. So let's talk about that. We did talk about yesterday how we were going to be meeting with Iran um to talk about the nuclear deal. So I'm just going to read the first paragraph from the Reuters article this morning. Oil prices were lifted on Wednesday by prospects for the global strengthening of the economic growth. So gains were capped as talks to revive a nuclear deal with Iran raised the possibility of easing sanctions on its oil exports. Okay. So as you can kind of see, that's exactly what we're expecting. A little bit of fear, although it did, as long as that everything came out right, which it seemed to, we were going to get a slight tick up, which we did. Brent crude oil went up 54 cents and WTIs rose 46 cents. So we hit our highs of 63.28 and 59.79. And actually, we're starting out a little higher with this. Well, it was just 59.88, but now we're back out to that 59.79 level. So again, we're kind of stuck here trading in this range. It seems like we're going to just be bouncing off of this $60 level with WTIs until we're making this next leg up. Like I said, I'd really like to see over 61. However, like we know they expect to do those cuts. So those cuts are going to be going until the end of July. So what I'm talking about specifically is the OPEC deal doing the out cuts from May. So that being said, like I said, it seems like we've hit this new resistance level at $60, and we keep touching it and going and coming right off in the WTI sector, and it seems like we just won't be able to break over this 64 to jump into this 65 range for Brent until summer. So we're still holding it down, just kind of trading in this range here. Going to sit tight for a second and let the consolidation finish. Like I said, around summertime, of course, we got these new vaccinations. I mean, these new strains of COVID coming out. And apparently, the UK strands have started to hit the US, so they're worried about that right now as well. So I just kind of see us stuck right where we are for a little bit. Like I said, as we get more news about these strands that are gonna eventually either be taken care of or get worse, that'll kind of give us some more clear direction as far as supply and demand and traveling. But I think the U.S. is still going to continue to reopen into July for those traveling seasons as mass vaccination continues. So yeah, that's where we stand.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and we do have the EIA crude oil. I mean, there's a bunch of different oil, distillate, Cushing crude oil, gasoline stocks change that's going to come out probably while we're talking. So if I don't know have time, I will kind of get back into it because I'm very interested in the numbers, and also we can talk about the U.S. exports and import numbers as well. But with that said. Normally, we talk about trash trades every other day. Yesterday, we did treat yourself. I don't want to do trash trades. I think I want to do You Must Hate Money. Okay, so a lot of the times our trash trades are things that we talk about. Hey, I made a mistake inside of this trade. I didn't take profit when I should have. I missed my entry or exit or something like that. Now, You Must Hate Money is a totally different one. This is a stock that you've been looking at, and for some reason or another, you did not take a position, although you had every reason to. And you must think to yourself, God, do I just hate money? We say it to each other all the time. Does anybody have a story?
I've got one.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
okay. I guess we all have one.
Okay,
Let's go. Oh my
that's
God, fire
awesome.
story.
So I would like to let's go to Alec, Patrick, Daniel.
Yeah. Well, Pat,
and, yeah.
Pat and I can talk at the same time because it's the same stock. It's RMO yesterday, and it's still hurting me today. So I'm
with
yeah,
Alec on that.
we
RMO, we both missed it.
yeah we had alert set up and everything, and didn't get in, and it's been running. So yeah, stinky.
We both hate money.
And so what happened? How can we fix that and make sure we don't miss that opportunity next time?
I think for me, I was just hesitant because it's a SPAC, and I know SPACs have been beaten up. And I put my entry point, and when it hit, I just, I had that moment of hesitation and fear of SPACs are going to go back down, and I missed it.
Yep, same here, and I need my 9 to 5 to let me trade full time.
I understand that. And then when you do quit your 9 to 5 to trade full time, you get even more concerned. I mean, that fear doesn't go away; like it goes up. So
Oh, yeah.
I relate to you guys. Like I'm in there.
Bro.
Daniel, go ahead.
I picked up. I've been watching SOS for a while. I picked up SOS calls at the end of last week for this Friday and next Friday at 5.5 and $6 strike price, respectively. And then yesterday when it went down to like 436, I was like, that's it, whatever, I'm done. Cut losses. And then literally after market close, they Reddit was like, hey, we're gonna pump this because people keep fucking with it, because SOS just keeps not doing what people think it's gonna do, and like people are sick of it. And now it's up at 6 right now. So yeah, I'm sad.
I did the same thing, buddy.
Fucking Wall Street bet. Fucking Wall Street bets.
SOS, bro. I was waiting for somebody
I'm
to call
upset.
it out.
I'm so upset.
I mean, but I mean, don't get me wrong, because like I understand, and there are a lot of times that I've said I must hate money because I refuse to touch stocks that I see on Wall Street bets. But do you guys really like calculate that in? Is that something that like it needs to be put into the bigger picture at the end of the day?
I mean, I feel like I was smart kind of for cutting my losses when it hit 436, but it's because it's like I can't account for some people to be like, hey, you know what? Like, I know SOS keeps being like, it's like every time you think SOS is going to do something, it doesn't do it. And you're just like, what the fuck? And like, I've been watching this happen over like the past like 3 weeks. And it's just like, this shit is crazy. So like me taking a position, I was like, you know what? Bitcoin's primed. Ethereum's primed for this weekend. Like they just got all these new miners. They now have more miners tomorrow or whatever. I was like, you know what? They have PR dropping that's supposed to drop next week. You know what? I'm in. Let's do this. And then it just went down to like 436 yesterday. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Cut losses, man. Like this fucking stock. I knew it. And then literally after market closed, they're like, hey guys, people are messing with it, and let's try to get back at them. And now it's back at like fucking $6. I'm like, god damn it.
You know, I don't think you hate money, Daniel. I think you wanted to protect your money, and Lord knows I don't care what the hell. I don't give a fuck if Reddit says they're gonna pump everything straight to the moon. I would wait. So, I don't know. I applaud you, sir. Some losses are a good loss, man. Like fuck, you can't trade based off of the idea that maybe some asshole on Reddit is gonna pump something. Like I don't know. Also, it reminds me of so I got this quote from somebody on stage who, if they want to take credit for it, they can. But there's like, it's the same thing with Clubhouse. Look, if we go on Clubhouse and I hear 3 people talk about a stock in 3 different rooms, it goes on a list called the Clubhouse list, and I don't touch it for a week. That's a great rule. I
Oh yeah,
believe
I
in
saw
it
you post
strongly.
that.
No, that's truth. That was like, it was a joke, but also I wasn't really kidding. Like,
I actually like that. I like that method.
it's a good method. To stay away from meme stocks in the internet. I'm sorry for talking to you guys. Anybody else have a must hate money moment they want to share?
I do have
I
one.
just want to share that you've been putting Caesar on the list since $77.32, and we all hate money.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. It just came down and tested the 50-day moving average, kind of back on a recovery inside of that uptrend. I think it's still alive.
It is still alive. It's going to 105. It's not touching the price target of 113, but 105 is realistic.
Anyways, let's not, because we should all be doing discounted cash flows and really trying to price out this. I don't like just having floating in the air price targets because an analyst said so. James, one more must hate money moment, please.
Yes. So this is a must hate money moment ever since March 8th. It's Lowe's and Home Depot. Oh my God. I've been waiting for a pullback for the longest, and I never got my pullback. And every time I look at the stock, I'm like, why I didn't get in on March 8th. And the only reason why was because the SPY did like a double dip, and I got scared.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate money.
Nah, it's okay. You're not a fundamentals trader, so it's like the technical setup wasn't there. I know you do. I mean, sort of, but I know a lot of people who've been talking about the price of lumber very specifically in relation to Home Depot, and as well as the building supplies, and kind of looking at, like, you can look at the new homes. Like, there's economic data that comes out that says how many new homes are being built on a consistent basis, and it's like that might have been a little bit of a better indicator to hop in that position or given some more strength. But because it's like, you're pure technicals, you don't get those I don't know, triggers. There we go, triggers for entry. Yep. But hey, I appreciate that, and thank you everybody for coming up and sharing. I love these segments. I love hearing kind of what you guys got going on, and it's okay. I also occasionally hate money, but not today. So we're going to do a quick refresh, and then we'll get straight into it.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first place every morning you should stop to get your stock market news. That's right, I'm talking about the morning show presented by Stockhouse University. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. This is a conversation amongst friends that love talking about stocks and want to improve our profitability by coming here every day, talking about the market, relevant news, and how we're going to use that information to be profitable. We think education should be accessible and affordable to everyone, so we have a free Discord that has tons of resources and over 1,800 amazing members at all different skill levels that are also talking about the market, and they're trying to grow as well. We also do free classes on Sundays, and we would love it if you would join that community and contribute, because together we are so much more powerful than we are individually. Invite your friends, invite your family. Let's all create opportunities for generational wealth. Also, if you like the conversations that we have here, make sure to click the greenhouse on the top and join the community. We'd love to continue the conversations, and we would love it if you guys would contribute every time we're on stage, not just in the Stockhouse U family. Thank you.
I really appreciate that. Every time Chris goes, "That's right." Like, I'm just like, yes, let's go.
That's right. You can find it at the Stockhouse U. Yeah, Chris has a really good kind of radio voice.
Killed that.
Killed it. So, who wants to talk about SPY with me? I feel like I've like pushed it into the S&P 500 futures conversation at this point, so we do them in conjunction. However, we could also just talk purely about SPY. We could also talk about the 10-year. Liv, go ahead, man. Take it away.
Yeah, so I kind of want to look at what happened at close yesterday, first of all. There's like a giant candle from 405.77 to like 406.12. That's something that's interesting that I was like looking at, and I was like, are we going to gap up in the morning, or is this like a sort of like a cover, and then we're just slowly going to trickle down? later on today. So currently we're sitting at 405.53. So I think we might be trickling. If we are going to trickle down, I'm gonna look at confirmation for that at 404.50. If we can go down a whole dollar and SPY is not able to bounce back up to 406 within the day, then I think we are going to turn around and start going for a little bit of a retrace, a healthy pullback, of course. However, if that's not the case and we do actually continue, then I think that this may have been the pullback itself, and SPY is just priming to break past 407. Because if we noticed yesterday, it didn't really have the ability to touch 407 for too long, like it did in the previous days that we were pushing up. So I don't know if the steam has just been being cooled right now and we're just waiting to break past 407. If we do, then I'd like to see SPY hit 410 and then slowly on its way to the 420 that I've been reading about everywhere on SPY. And that's it for me.
Yep, I love that. Anybody else have a take on SPY?
Yeah, I've been tracking it quite closely, and so with technicals and charts, I don't like trading on gaps. I know people say gaps always fill, but I completely disagree that gaps always fill. They don't. But I think with the indices, they generally do. So I think in the back of my mind, my concern is we're going to fill that gap down to 400 at some point. So just to be wary of that, I was trying to look at previous gap ups and how long it takes to fill, and it kind of ranges between like 3 days and 2 weeks. So it's just something I want people to bear in mind, that we probably at some point will see a gap down to the 400 levels. I think you mentioned earlier, Elaine, that we might see that. So I think for now, I think it may be sideways or slightly up. I don't know, it's hard to tell, but I think we are kind of overextended at the moment, is my worry on the SPY.
Can I add to what Elle was saying? Yeah, so I also peeped the potential for a gap down. I wasn't sure yet because SPY likes to just do this thing where it's like, hey, okay, I'm gonna take a little break, and then you're like, oh, okay, so we're gonna retrace, and it's like, nah, we're not done, and it just runs another like $5. And then once it gets to that point, like if you look at the chart around like February or January 27th, you'll see like we were gapping down a lot, all the way down to 368. And then it was like, oh, okay, cool, 375, gap up to 382. And then that's when we were like, okay, is this going to be sideways? And then it just ran all the way up to 390. And if you remember around February 16th, it started to do that whole thing where it's filling the gap back down and it got really violent, like up and down and up and down. So I do see that happening. We might retrace to 400 and then move back up to 408 and then do the same thing because we're so high right now with SPY. I think because we're in all-time highs, we have to keep that in mind. It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I mean, gap for me, I don't like saying gaps always fill, but I feel like with the SPY, they generally always do. So yeah, generally.
No, I agree with that. The pattern doesn't have to repeat itself, but it tends to. And it would be such a departure from our volatility, right? If we just continue to kind of trend up in this sort of smooth upward sort of thing. I mean, it's not even a smooth upward thing. It's just a fairly violent upward movement at this point. And I mean, and the only thing I can say, like, it just makes you wonder because it's like the way the news cycle changes has changed. And it's like, I was not a Trump fan. I actually don't like, I didn't vote for him. I don't like the guy, but it's like the news and the way that people are talking has been completely different. Now, is it because that we have a different president and their policy is actually like to address issues that we're dealing with, and it feels like the Fed feels more supported, it feels like the CDC feels more supported, and the vaccine rollout is coming out? There are a number of reasons as to why people could be very bullish on the future, but we have the Chicago Federal Reserve Chair saying that they're very optimistic about growth prospects because the employment goals are going to get hit, right? There are so many people kind of looking and needing and talking about this upward movement, and the only thing I can say on the good side of this is that like these companies need to execute. We have priced in them executing, and we have absolutely priced in full reopening coming soon, and we're looking to have another great earnings season, and expecting to hear that Q1 was going really well. right? These are the things that we're sort of expecting. And if we don't get those, I believe that it will be kind of an even more volatile time in the market. So having people be positive and look towards the upside and say that that's what they expect is what I guess we would expect to hear, want to hear. I don't quite believe it, but it is the narrative of the storyline that we're having now, and the market is moving appropriately according to that. I too would love to see a retest. I kind of talk about this stuff a lot, and I would love to see that constructive growth. But on the other side, if we do push and hit that 410 and start to move up, it's just like I'm just going to expect a much larger pullback when it happens. And I'm sorry because I'm just repeating exactly what you guys just said, which I do agree with. Anybody else want to talk SPY, the Qs, or sector ETFs? Because I always like to talk about at least one or two of them before we keep it moving.
Yeah,
Go for it.
for a gap analysis. So we have this 4 days of up movement, and then yesterday we had like a gap down. However, the day ended with a doji, a slight green, and then today we have a gap down, which means that today should be a red day. However, if today is a doji, that's a very, very bullish sign, which means we may have more continuation. So today is kind of like I call the conditional day. Depending how today ends, can give us some readings of what will happen tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Reading price action is a fun thing because you can get moments like this where I know you like a doji just as much as I do, James. I get excited about these. It's a setup.
I want a doji.
I want the doji. The doji is everything. This is the doji dojo of indecision, and you will all become masters at it before long. Anybody else? And I'll keep it moving because we also do need to talk news.
Yeah, I just want to ask a quick question about the S&P, Elaine, and maybe Al can weigh in on this as well. But I've read a lot of articles over this past weekend and even yesterday where they're talking about how the S&P this week and the volume this week was lower, but we should expect to see an uptrend as the European and Asian markets reopen from the long holiday weekend. Do you see that as a potential bullish signal for SPY this week, or are you still anticipating that doji?
I mean, on a weekly chart, for me, the price action and target and direction is a lot more clear. And I wouldn't call this indecision. This is pure momentum on a weekly chart, following a huge gap. Honestly, there's much less indecision if you look at this thing on a weekly, monthly, or even quarterly chart. It's just green. So for me personally, and yeah, we do look at the Asian market specifically, like the Japan market right now. I think we're talking about Korea a lot these days. But I'm seeing a focus on the American economy and the American markets right now. I'm seeing a focus on American companies, American labor, and so and sort of a little bit of an energy to distance ourselves from these world politics, right? What is Intel doing but making a $20 billion bet that American manufacturing is going to make a difference? Even though this has been, at least in recent times, something that we haven't put a lot of effort into as we've kind of had the education, the creative side of industries. So at least for me, I think I'm looking at it a little bit more on a nationalistic basis and kind of discounting a little bit more about what's going on with the world markets. Because if I did, I'd have to also take into account like what's going on with the world in terms of vaccine rollout, and it's not looking nearly as good for everybody else as it does for us. I mean, it's severe. We're having record cases and lockdowns in a lot of places at this point, right? India on the list as well. Brazil had 4,000 people die like in a single day. So if we're not going to talk about the bad sides of what's going on with the world markets on some sort of large frame, I'm kind of not too interested or too heavily on what's going on with the good sides besides what's happening with oil. El, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of agree. I think the narrative will. I mean, from a weekly point of view, I think this week's definitely been a good week. We've seen a lot more money flow into the large caps. I still think I agree that volume is still a bit low on the growth stocks and the small caps. A lot of them are still in the consolidation phase. But if you look at companies like Tesla and Apple and those guys, they've all just come back from where they were during that huge tech sell-off. So I think I mean, today you're going to see, because of the Fed speaking, you're going to see probably a sideways day until they speak. But I think generally this week, whatever happens, I can't see as personally, I mentioned the gap down. I would be surprised if we gap down this week because it doesn't seem like there's any real catalyst. But I think what we're probably going to see, I think, again, I saw an article on Zero Hedge from someone who was saying that the yield is sort of going through a consolidation phase and then it's likely to probably go up. I also saw some fund saying that a good hedge is to short the 5-year bonds. So all of these kind of things are going to make the yield probably go up again, and that could potentially cause some more fear in the sort of near term. But I think this week has been a good week, and I think we are starting to see a lot more volume compared to what we were seeing during the tech sell-off.
All right, you guys, let's talk news. Who's got news for me?
Just a quick question with the AMD Xilinx thing. Is the problem just the huge dilution for AMD shareholders?
I mean, it's not necessarily a problem, but that definitely is what we're going to be looking at. Yeah, it will be a huge dilution for sure. And expect some price movement to the downside based off of that. But also, we're going to expect huge production capabilities and manufacturing additions on the upside. So I mean, this is a big one. This is a very big deal. And I'm looking for, I mean, this is absolutely another Super Bowl moment for me. I mean, I don't know, today's going to be a hard day for me to trade because we've got Joe Biden talking, we've got Fed minutes, we definitely have this AMD Xilinx merger. And I'm going to be glued to my computer screen for all of it.
So I got a couple of things that I'm looking at. First, I'm watching Hall of Fame. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know if anybody else is watching that, but the Manning brothers, which is like the most profitable football family of all time, just dropped NFTs. So I'm watching Hall of Fame. I'm also looking at, can we please talk about Coinbase for just a second and how they just got 120% price target upgrade from 199 to 440?
Yeah, but it's still an IPO play. Like, who cares if they got $1 million price target upgrade?
But I'm thinking sympathy plays like hedging, especially with all the things that you're talking about today. Like, can we please talk about Bitcoin possibly getting some movement? And the Nara Riot, E-bonds of the world moving with it?
I mean, okay, we can talk Bitcoin for 2 seconds. Bitcoin closed at 58,000 and sitting at 56,000. I mean, I think all the Bitcoin people are sitting there praying to God that this thing doesn't do a pretty decent retracement, which it absolutely could. Now, I did hear about Korea kind of going pretty big on Bitcoin after the Coinbase upgrade, but it's like, I don't know. It's a tough regulatory environment. It's a tough mood right now. Same thing for Ethereum. I mean, I see them both as taking huge pullbacks, and having the possibility to. Ethereum just really ripped down as a 7% decrease in the past day. Is this something that you really want to take a risk on? Is that like hedge material?
I guess it all depends on what's said today. In addition to like price action based on the Coinbase IPO, for me. But honestly, I'm liking the fact that they're down, and potentially looking for a move up to counter exactly what you said. So, I mean, I think it's crazy. I normally do agree with you, but on this one, I'm taking the other side.
Yeah, Bitcoin's been down today, and then EBON has been down as well and I think people are waiting for that to go up.
They got a short report.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do if it drops like 7 to 12% on Ethereum?
I mean, I'm holding Ethereum from like $148. Like nobody, I don't care.
You guys, respectfully, I don't ever want to talk about crypto for more than like a minute and a half. This is not a crypto room. We're going to keep it moving. Any other news? That cannot be your only news. So DraftKings pushing higher on a sports betting approval in New York. Like what the? And okay. So this plan is going to see the New York Lottery issue requests for proposals from 2 mobile betting operators, which will then subcontract out skins to 4 sportsbook operators. The commission can add more platforms down the road, and the 2 mobile betting operators are going to pay $25 million for a $10 licensing fee. This is good. This is what we're looking for. I think sports betting opens up the door for esports betting specifically, which is something I'm also kind of have been following, and what I'm interested in. Viacom actually got an upgrade, a price upgrade after the stock collapse. It's another thing that I haven't touched particularly. We're still seeing kind of fallout from Credit Suisse and the Archegos scandal fiasco, if you will. But Viacom up 2.7%. I love making a recovery play from a technical perspective. And I mean, I did see some opportunity there. So the firm that did it, the analyst said the underlying ad trend solidly, a seemingly reasonable consensus streaming sub-target, the likelihood of a distribution partner in the coming month, and an implied streaming value of 5 billion at current levels. We find the risk reward attractive and upgrade. So there it is. There is an argument for why Viacom is worth something, and I think that they did just get caught up. The same thing with Discovery, to be honest. However, I just kind of avoid stocks at this point that have too much negative press because there's always the opportunity for them to dump. More fallout from the Georgia election loss. And so, I mean, and what happened was, I don't know, I don't want to be political here, but what happened was definitely an attack on certain people's voting privileges and accessibility. And it is nice, in my opinion, to see companies kind of taking part in it, regardless of what Mitch McConnell has to say. Sorry, I have to 1 second.
It's cool. While you get it together, I did want to quickly cover the fact that I'm sorry I didn't talk about Aramco in the oil segment this morning. So Aramco is considering a stake of its pipelines of more than 10 billion, right? And they're discussing it with the U.S., Chinese, and other local buyers. So that's pretty crazy as far as the oil as well. And then Beyond Meat.
Ripping in pre-market.
Yeah, opens world-class plant-based meat manufacturing facility in China to accelerate localized production and innovation. Goodness gracious.
So yeah, we have like just on the Georgia side, once again, we have these companies that are deciding to take whatever, just talk about it and be a part maybe of the political process, and hopefully like our corporate, whatever, we have a society that is, we respect corporations. It's built into the laws, right? So the people who run these and have a huge amount of say. It was nice to see, and this is such a weird thing for Jeff Bezos to come out and say that he definitely believes in a minimum global corporate tax. I mean, I was kind of a crazy thing to hear him say, seeing as how he doesn't pay people, but whatever. Positive. Jamie Dimon yesterday in the annual shareholder letter talked long. I suggest everybody go read it. I mean, Jamie Dimon is like maybe my Buffett. I don't know. But in that letter, he really did go kind of long talking about the bipartisanship and how our political process has really stopped some of the most important things to most people from coming to fruition, and stopped progress in our country that we really definitely need to make in order for us to come together as people, and also for us to kind of lessen the gap and division and some of the problems in our democratic process, of which there are many. And we saw some of that stuff break down during our last election. Oh my God, we do not have a ton of time. I saw another article that said that Mike Pence might be running for president in 2024. This could be the greatest. I hope that we get that. I hope he's the Republican nominee. I don't think Mike Pence has a single solitary chance. You want to talk about I mean, whatever. So that would be kind of a great
It's
opening.
not going to happen. I like most of my family lives from Indiana, and Indiana says it's not going to happen. So
I mean, hey, I just hope that they choose somebody who has 0% chance of winning, and maybe we'll actually get some other reasonable third-party candidates for once and start to change the system. Of companies that have come out to talk about the new law in Georgia specifically, we know that the Major League Baseball is not going to be holding the All-Star game there. Apple, Coca-Cola, Delta, Merck, Microsoft, and American Express have all kind of expressed negative sentiment towards the voter laws in Georgia, and I think that we should just kind of follow this storyline to see if there will be some sort of negative retaliation on a state or federal level from Mitch McConnell or from the governors. I'm just very curious to see how this plays out, because this is politics and corporations kind of not getting along, whereas historically I feel like there's been a little bit more let's work together and make this thing happen. So anybody else have any big serious news? Yo, you guys. Las Vegas Sands talked about a little bit more about the valuation levels of their actual business, and looking forward, they're talking about that conservatively. Um, even though there's plenty of uncertainty due to the strong balance sheet, and Sands in China to be purchased. Oh, wait, sorry. The balance sheet post Vegas sale and Sands China due to be phased opening of the Londoner. Oh, right. So yeah, they're opening in China as well. And so, I mean, I've been talking about Las Vegas Sands. It is a company that I'm looking at, and they definitely, with the ease of travel going on, and the requirement of the nucleic acid certificate for mainland China arrivals and the removal of the 14-day centralized isolation, I think it could spell very well for a company like that. Beyond the fact that we also expect reopenings in America. Gosh darn it, you guys! I talked way too long, but there's so much news, and I can't not talk about it. With that said, I'm just gonna go for my top three. Liv, what's on your watch list for today?
I'm looking at XL and Hyman to see if they're going to get pumped as well with SOS. XL, my entry would be $9 if it does get pumped. And for a Hyland, HYLN, if we're going to see any upside past 12. And that's it.
Love that. Chris, what's on your watch list for today?
Like I said, I'm waiting for some price action on that Peyton Manning news. I'm watching the SPAC MUDS. That's going to be Tops, which is going to go public. So the trading card company Tops is MUDS, and Hall of Fame HOFV.
Love that. And Elle, what's on your watch list for today?
So I'm potentially. I don't normally trade meme stocks, but I feel like SOS could have a good run. So I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to chase it. I'll see if there's a good entry for it and maybe day trade. That's it.
I love that. And for me, I'll just keep going back to the Apple thing for a little while. I like trading single stocks over long periods of time. I'd love to see Apple kind of approach this 50-day moving average, which is sitting around 127 right now. That's kind of the move I'd love to see, the 127 to 131 kind of region, especially still expecting some volatility around the 130. But yeah, I'd love to see how this goes. This thing really usually rides kind of in line with the S&P, so I also can expect that, and there's kind of some indecision going in that road as well. But yeah, I'll stick with Apple as my play. Although energy is also definitely on the list. With that said, let's do some affirmations. I love the market. I love the community that I have around this market. And I love the growth that we are able to achieve by working together and pulling information, knowledge, and insight. Trading profitable is what I excel at. I believe in my ability to deal with market volatility. I am a profitable trader and investor. I am ready to react to the market, whether it goes up or down, or trades in the middle. I will not trade on emotion. I will trade with the trend. I will have a green day. And I am grateful and happy to be in the market and have this opportunity to create generational wealth, not just for myself, but for the people that I love and care about. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me, everybody. This is Stockhouse U. I hope you have the greenest of green days. And we're out of here.
Stay blessed.
Peace, peace, peace.
Oh, damn, Stocky, we didn't do our bull bear thing. Tomorrow.
No worries. Yeah, let's do it. Tomorrow.
Stocky Balboa segment coming back, you guys. We're talking about Rocky. Sorry, Roku. Anyways, I know.
Which is flying.
The $500 price target from Tuan, I wish that he would come back and defend that. I need him to defend it.
That was nutty.
If he doesn't do it, I will. I will.
I don't think he needs to, because looking at it.
Look at it, though, right?
Damn.